If you're a small business, one of the most important things that you have to worry about is inflation. Even if your customers can afford your product, and it's important, the cost of your product is affected by the source materials. I'm sure you've seen over the last year or two, prices have increased dramatically on everything from services to materials to inventory to shipping, gasoline, everything has gone up. Food. And even if all of those components don't directly affect your product, maybe you're an insurance agent, maybe you are a bookstore. At some level, inflation creeps into your business decisions. And if you look at all the different ways that, first of all, you can recognize it and account for it, you'll be ahead of the game rather than a competitor who's just reacting to things happening in the marketplace. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a company that looks at your costs and raise your prices maybe once every couple years, you may find that during that next year and a half cycle, your costs are going to go up and you're going to lose margin. At the same time, customers are expecting price increases because they see it everywhere else on a much more frequent basis. They see the gas price at the local fueling station go up every day. Every week it's higher. They see their real estate values go up on Zillow every month. They're going to see their restaurant have higher prices every month or two. If they're a renter, they're going to see their rents on apartments they look at going up every month or two. So if you're holding your price the same because you want to try to retain customers, you may be doing yourself and the customer a disservice. And here's why. First of all, your margin during that time when your costs are going up is going to be smaller, which means you won't have enough margin left over to really serve your customer well and retain good employees. If you're giving away your product or service too cheap, you're not giving your customer charity. You're actually taking away valuable service. If their customer wanted something for free, they would do it themselves, whatever you offer. Right? If you're a contractor that does electrical, if the customer wanted something for cheap, they would do their own electrical, right? They want to pay you for a valuable service. They're coming to you for expertise. And that should be the focus of your business, being an expert in your field that customers want to pay you money. Every dollar that you discount your product, you're getting closer to zero. You don't want to overcharge, obviously. You don't want to take advantage of customers. You want to make your product seem like it's a no-brainer to buy for what the value is. But by letting your costs go up and not adjusting your price to the customer, you're having less money internally to pay great people to be part of your organization, to give your customer good service, have more people on the phones discussing products and services with them. You're not going to be able to give extra VIP service to customers. Maybe it's, if somebody buys something from you, give them a little extra. Or maybe if they ask a question, you give them an extra accommodation. Maybe if you're a hotel, you have extra perks for that customer. If you're short on margin, you're going to pull back some of those perks. You're going to cut corners. Maybe in ways you think don't affect the customer, but that's what retains your customer base. If you have repeat volume customers, they're going to see those little cutting of corners and they're going to make decisions about maybe staying with you, maybe jumping ship and going somewhere else. Also, if you have less margin, you're not going to be able to pay employees a luxury amount. You may not have to cut their pay, but you're not going to be able to give them more. And they're going to see all their expenses going up. Their rent goes up, their gas for their car goes up, their food goes up at their house, all the things they pay for are going up. Their salary's not going up. And you might be able to say, well, we didn't raise prices for our customers. The employee's going to say, I don't care. I still have to pay more. So keeping your prices in line with the market is going to help you do all the right things for your business. Pay your employees more, pay yourself more, make more profit. Because the other thing about your business, if you remember, all of the great things you've done in business to develop and grow your company have to do with investments you made. Maybe you bought a new computer system. Maybe you bought a building with more space. Maybe you bought some new equipment. Maybe you invested in new employees. You were able to do that because of retained earnings that you had from prior months, quarters, or years. And if you're cutting short your margin, it's going to be a domino effect. You may not realize the problems with that for weeks, months, or even years later, when you find that you're behind and all your competitors are now buying new buildings, new advertising, better employees, better equipment, and now you're behind the 8 ball because you thought you're doing your customers a favor by keeping your prices low. Keeping them low is one thing. Keeping them artificially low is not doing you or your customers any good, because now they have to go to a competitor. And if you honestly believe you're the best company out there, you're the best provider, you don't want your customers going somewhere else because you don't think they're going to be taken care of as well as you could. If you believe that you are a great business provider for your customer, you want to make sure that they don't go somewhere else because they don't know any better. And the only way you're going to do that is to make sure that you retain them, you offer them the best product, service, employees that you can. And by letting your costs creep up and eat away at your margin, you're going to have less power to give the extra service, have the good employees, maybe increase the quality of your product. While everybody else is cutting back on quality, maybe using cheaper materials, smaller portions, whatever they do, you're out there giving more. It doesn't cost you that much. For most businesses, your actual cost basis, cost of sale, is less than 50%. Sometimes it's 20 or 30%. So if you produce a product and it costs $100 and it costs you $20 or $25 to make that product, not counting overhead or labor or service or employees, that kind of thing, fixed cost, by adding on 20% more material, better material, 20% of, let's say, $25 is only $5. So now you're going to $30. So if you do that and raise your price to $125, your margin's still the same. You might think, well, I don't want to raise my price in this market because everybody's short on cash. Everybody is short on cash, but you want to be the one that they give their cash to. They're going to make decisions about where to give their cash. Some of those decisions are based on cost, but some of them are based on quality. In fact, when it comes to financial strain and pressure, most of the time people give up the low quality things first and keep the things that are most productive, especially in a B2B environment. And if your product is a luxury, you want to keep it a luxury. You don't want to make it a commodity, because a commodity can be replaced. If you lose some customers that can't afford the luxury, that's fine. When it comes out the other side, you will be the luxury provider. It's a strategy in business. Maybe it might not work for everybody, but make sure that if you do make the decision to become a commodity or the lowest price provider, you're doing it intentionally. You're not accidentally letting yourself get left behind on price increases to where you don't have the horsepower, the finances, the capital to stay in the pack, running with the big dogs. And that's where that power comes from. It comes from capital, working capital. The working capital all comes from your customers. Again, we're not talking about ripping people off or gouging or jacking up prices. We're talking about maintaining pace with the market, at least. Making your product better. It's a bold thing to do in business. It's a bold thing to do. When there's inflation, it's easy to cut prices and cut costs to try to get more business. But if the business is not sustainable for today, or more importantly for tomorrow, there's going to come a time you're going to run out of gas. And you are going to train your customers that you are the low-cost provider, the bucket shop, the cheap place, discount, blue light special. You want to be the one the customer looks at as high quality. In the face of all this, you're still giving good service, where they're seeing right now everybody else has bad service. Think about your own experience as a consumer or as a business client. Every company that you call up, every agency you call up, places you communicate with, what's their customer service like? Do you get people on the phone? Do they know what you're talking about? Do they have good customer service compared to even 4 years ago? Think about that. Think about how hard it is to get somebody on the phone. Even airlines, big companies, they don't have customer service on the phone anymore. So you can very easily make yourself different and stand above and beyond the typical average defensive, fearful company by just providing a little bit more. It doesn't have to cost you a fortune. You don't want to break your bank doing it. But by keeping your prices in line with inflation, you're going to be able to have that capital. What's it going to do for your volume? Well, we did a very recent business development experiment with one of our business entities, where we had a product that was being sold for about $80. It was a service. It was a convenient service being sold for about $80. And that was the price for 7-8 years. About $80. And about a year and a half ago, we knew that the cost was going to go up. Labor was going to go up. Some of the fees we had to pay were going to go up. And we also wanted to do a little bit different procedure with delivering the product. We wanted to deliver it in a way that was a little more expensive. Instead of digital, we were going to ship some things UPS, Priority Mail. It was going to have a little higher shipping cost, maybe $5 or $6. So we knew we had to raise the price. So we talked about 80, maybe 90, maybe 100. And through a period of discussion, we decided to raise the price to about double, about 160. And we did add some value to the service that had cost. But the theory behind it also was, at 160, it becomes a more substantial product. It also has more higher perceived value for the customer. So we did the change, and we figured, look, even if we lose 20 or 30% of volume, we're still ahead of the game because we're double the price, 100% more. If we lose 20 or 30%, our revenue number would still be above what it was before. Well, you probably are guessing the punchline to this joke now. We raised the price to about 160, about double, and the volume didn't go down, didn't stay the same. It actually went up because the clients perceived it more as a luxury service, a VIP service, because of the price point. At about $80, they figured, this is just a cheap thing. Not everybody wants a cheap thing. A lot of people want to pay more for something better. So as a result of that, we actually added a few more value-added things just to make sure we're taking care of our customers over and above what they expected in that division. And that costs a little more too, but still, we're able to do that because we had the extra revenue. And look, this is nothing new for you as a business. We're not telling you something you don't know, trying to condescend or talk down to you. We're just reminding you that if you have a fear of raising your price or not lowering your price, to maybe try to detach from that fear. See what it would be like to move your price with the rest of society. Because, look, your customers are seeing prices go up everywhere. It's not going to be an insult to them. Yeah, they might complain. They might not like it. But there's a big difference between a complaint and an objection. A complaint is just somebody venting their thought about something. I don't like this. Okay, I understand. Buy it anyways. An objection is, I just can't do it. I won't do it. I refuse to do it. You may have some objections. You may have some people that just don't, on principle or on budget or for whatever reason, not do it. But if you're retaining your same margin percentage at your new price point, and you have a customer that is not able or willing to purchase at that price point, then that customer really isn't a viable customer, because you have to maintain your same margin, because that's how your business succeeded and survived as long as it did. Your business is surviving and succeeding because of your margin. It's because of the margin of profit that you earn. And if you reduce that margin, you won't be able to continue in the same type of business. You may have to change your business model, and you might not know if that works. Your business model now, you know that it works on your current margin. If you reduce your margin, you might not have a business at some point. So keep an eye on that margin. Don't worry about the total sales so much. That'll grow with time if you continue to do business development. The margin's important, because if you start losing margin, that's like losing altitude on a plane. And eventually you have some room, but eventually it's going to hit the ground. Your customers are going to appreciate if you do the things that help retain them in a long time. Some might not understand it. They might get offended. They might be upset. Have a plan to deal with that. But know in your heart, in the long run, that you're doing the right thing to retain good customers and to continue to be an excellent provider of that product, service, assistance, resource, client, whatever it is you provide. Because you're setting yourself up for success to be there for them when they need you in the future. You're not going to be like that business that the customer needs and all of a sudden they turn around and you're not there. And now they have to go somewhere else. Do you want your customer out there scrambling trying to find another provider that's not as good as you? You're doing them a disservice by not being available for them. They trust you. They need you for something. Obviously, they wouldn't be giving you money if they didn't. They want to have your assistance, product, or service. You want to be there to continue to give it to them. The only way you can do it is with margin. If you don't have the margin, then eventually they're going to call you up and your phone's disconnected. Your website's out of business. And there's also a point of no return that you may go by that you don't even recognize. There's some point you get to where your margin's low, you start eating into working capital, you start cutting, how much cash you have, get rid of an employee, get rid of a location. Next thing you know, you're at a place where you can't fix it. You're just hoping something's going to change. If you hope something's going to change that you don't have any control over, you're throwing yourself at the mercy of the court. You don't want to be there. You want to take control and seize things and conquer things. And margin is the way to do it. Margin gives you power to go do things. Again, we're not talking about ripping people off or mistreating people. We're talking about having proper capital to help put you head and shoulders above your competitors and a valuable resource for your clients. And this works for every business. Doesn't matter what business you're in. Even Dollar Tree. Cheapskate provider, they raised their price to $1.25. Nobody liked it. People complained about it. News articles. Everybody's going to grouse and whine about it. But they're going to be there because they knew what to do with their pricing. $1 to $1.25 is a 25% increase. But you know what? Customers know that. They're paying more. They're paying double for gas. So if they were paying $3 for gas, now they're paying $6. That's a double. They only went from $1 to $1.25 at Dollar Tree. That's a deal. Now, part of the problem is their name is Dollar, so it's a little bit more conspicuous. But the amount they went up is less than the increase everywhere else. Less than the increase in gas, less than the increase in their rent. A lot of people went from $1,000 to $1,500 on their rent. That's a 50% increase. So $1 to $1.25 is nothing. If you go up 20 or 30% on your price, people aren't going to blink an eye. The right people won't. Some of your customers, that might be the difference between them hanging on there or not. Did you really want those customers? Those are customers that just barely are able to use your product or service profitably or comfortably. You want the ones who it's like a no-brainer. They don't even think about it. It's like, I wish I could pay more and get double. It's a scary thing to change pricing, especially in this environment. But having both carrot and stick helping you make that decision, the carrot of having more margin, having more profit, and the stick of the fear of losing your business in the long run if you're not able to keep it together, hopefully helps ease some of that concern and at least helps dip your toe in the water. Maybe try it with one product or service and then put it across your whole product line later.